Titiksha, the ability to accept all kinds of situations in one's life without even the tendency to complain. So it can extend up to, one's own upbringing, childhood, and later one's partner, society, friends, relatives. And it could also include not comparing oneself with anyone else. So comparison comes because of non-acceptance. So why am I facing such difficult situations, going through this struggle? Why am I being singled out? Why me? So that is an instinctive reaction. But when there is acceptance, then you don't even feel the need to complain. This is my karma, this is what I deserve. Simple. Then the mind is really at peace with itself. The mind is not troubled. And another way of looking at it is, if whatever difficulties I have undergone, if all those difficulties have brought me to this stage where I can turn inward, then all those difficulties are worth it. Whatever I have faced earlier. So they are all worth it, and I have no reason to complain about any of them. Because no one's life is going to be perfect. And if difficulties have brought me here, then all the troubles that I have faced have really paid off. So all this is included in Titiksha. So like I said, Sahanam Sarva Dukkhanam Apratikara Purvakam. Chinta Vilapa Rahitam. Without worrying, and without complaining. Chinta is worry. And then Vilapa is outburst. So complaining, in the form of complaining. Vilapa Rahitam Sa Titiksha Nigadyate. So that is called Titiksha. So the reason we are looking at all these qualifications is because for us to evaluate ourselves, to have this as a benchmark, because these are all very helpful yardsticks. So how much restraint I have over my own mind? How much I am in charge of my own emotions? So are my emotions uncontrollable? My feelings. So am I in charge of my emotions, or so they're uncontrollably expressing themselves? Sometimes it can be positive feelings, Then also I need to be in charge. Positive like love, compassion, empathy. So all those, they are all positive emotions. But they also need to be channelized. And the undesirable emotions like anger, hatred, jealousy, fear, and then shyness. Like the mind has, there's a very beautiful definition of the mind also. So mind is defined as the place where all these thoughts occur. So the different thoughts are kamaha, sankalpaha, vichikitsa, shraddha, ashraddha, krihi, dhihi, bhihi, manaha ityeva. So wherever desire arises, because there is no physical entity called the mind. So you have a thought, and only because you have a thought you infer there should be a mind. So the mind is not the brain. So the way we understand it, the mind and brain are not synonymous. The brain is the physical organ through which the mind expresses itself. It is very different from how modern science looks at it. So whenever there is a psychological problem, they try to fix it with a medicine. But still that is only a suppression of some symptom. It never cures it completely. Like a person who takes medicine for depression. You will have to take medicine forever. Because the root cause is not addressed. Only the symptom is addressed. Okay, whenever there is this expression, then certain chemicals are released. And then you suppress the release of those chemicals so that the expression of the symptom is reduced. So, but our understanding of the mind is very different. The mind is in the subtle body. So this we have to be very clear. The mind and brain are not synonymous. But still they operate together. The mind operates through the brain. But if you want to fix the root cause of some psychological issue, then you have to fix the mind, not the brain. So anyway, so mind is the place where all these thoughts occur. One is kama, desire. So we all can see that we have desires. So that means we infer there is a mind. And then sankalpa, resolve. It's a nice translation. So sankalpa is a resolve to do something. So whenever I have that resolve, I make a choice, have an opinion, exercise an opinion. So that is sankalpa. Again, that takes place in the mind. And then vichikitsa, doubt. Wherever there is doubt, whether I should do, I should not do. I should go, I should not go. Should come here, I should not come. So this happens all the time. So that happens in the mind. And then the decision is made by the intellect. Mind throws up the doubt, and decision is made by the intellect. And then Shraddha, faith. So if I have faith in something, trust. So that is a function of the mind. Shraddha. Ashraddha, lack of faith. And then Hri, feeling of modesty. In behavior. So that is also in the mind. Dhi, bhi, fear. Fear also expresses in the mind. And then dhi, determination. So whenever I'm determined to do something, the mind is responsible for it. So hrihi, dhi, bhi, manaha ityam. So why I'm saying this is because one needs to be in charge of the emotions that arise in the mind. One should not be carried away. So that is Shama, that's very important. So, and then here also, now we are discussing Titiksha. Here also there is total acceptance of one's karma and one's destiny. So Chinta Vilaparahitam, that's why we went into the mind. So Chinta is worry happens in the mind. And then Vilapa, complaining, Satitiksha Nikartiti. So this is an important benchmark to evaluate whether I'm doing any of this. If I am, then I have to handle it. There is no reason to judge myself based on whether I'm doing it. But just be objective and then get the ability to handle that. And the next one is Shraddha. So with regard to the mind, Shraddha, I translated as faith. So here Shraddha is mentioned as a separate qualification. So Shraddha means having total faith and trust in the words of the scriptures and the Guru. And one very important quality to inculcate is not be skeptical. Because people generally, they allow themselves to be skeptical. They think it is good to be skeptical. Okay, this person is saying this. It may be right, it may not be right. So from his standpoint, he may be saying what he thinks. That is okay, but that doesn't work with regard to one's own self-inquiry. So that total faith and trust in the Guru is absolutely essential. One has to choose one's teacher carefully. No one says that you have to fall at anyone wearing a knocker or anyone calling himself or herself to be a guru. But you evaluate. How do you evaluate? That's the next problem. So the way you evaluate is if this person says, someone says, that all the wisdom I have, it was just revealed to me. One fine day it was revealed to me. I was sitting in meditation and then it just something switched on and I got enlightened. If a person says that, then our traditional advice is stay as far away from that person as possible. You can respect that person. So, I'm not saying you should not respect that person, but that person is not fit to teach. Why? We will also talk about it. So, a guru should be someone who comes in the line of the teaching tradition. See, we do that for other subjects. Whenever someone is talking about some subject, the first thing we do is go on Wikipedia and then Google that person, search for that person and then see where did he study. So if he has studied from a prestigious place, then we are able to trust that person. Okay, he's from MIT, so he's from Harvard, or he's from somewhere here, good institute here. So then he can be trusted. But someone says that it just got revealed to me. In spirituality alone we do that. So when someone says it got revealed to me, then it sounds very extraordinary. Oh my God, so. But the subconscious hope is that because it got revealed to me, maybe this person will also help me get the revelation without going through the trouble. So the person will do something that suddenly one day I will wake up enlightened. I will be a wise man, a wise person. So anyway, so what we suggest is that if someone says that I'm self-enlightened, then respect that person and offer your salutations and find a better teacher. Because that person may have got this because of one's own Purva-janma. Like tradition in India also, we have some people who are Mahatmas and we completely respect them. We have tremendous respect. But still they themselves don't attempt to teach. Like even there was one of the greatest saints of recent times, in the last century, Ramana Maharshi. So he was in Tiruvannamalai. He was one of the greatest saints and we have tremendous respect. But he himself, he even refused to open his mouth unnecessarily. So people just used to go and sit in front of him and ask him. Most of the time, he will just be looking through them. You ask a question, you just sit there and then look through you. So what answer will you get? But sometimes he did also. And mostly he answered in terms of just inquire into who is asking the question. The nature of the person who is asking the question. That was his stock answer. So he never systematically taught. So we have people like that in the tradition for whom we have the greatest respect. And he just got enlightened because of his Purva past karma. At 16, he just woke up one day and then started imagining what it would be like if he died that day. He just lay down on the floor and then imagine that, okay, I'm dead now. The body is dead. So the body is becoming stiff. So rigor mortis is setting in. And then what? So am I gone? Am I dead? Because the body is dead? Because the mind is dead? Or am I still alive? So those were the questions he asked himself. And suddenly he felt that I should not be at home anymore. He just left and went to Tiruvannamalai and did not wear anything more than a loincloth for the whole of his life. Never even wore anything on top, because that is a place in India where it is always hot. So you don't even require any clothes. So he just wore a loincloth. So we have the greatest respect, but still that person we do not look upon as a teacher. So teachers also we classify into 3 different levels. So the best teacher is one who comes in the teaching tradition, who has learnt from another teacher, and then who has also assimilated this knowledge. That is the ideal teacher. So why should you have come in the teaching tradition? Because that is when you are exposed to the teaching methodology. So the teaching methodology has a lot of structure in it. And it has been fine-tuned over millennia. So when we use some texts for teaching, these texts were not written last year or 2 years back, or 10 years back, or even 50 years back. Some of the texts were written like 800 years back at least. So, and they also come in the teaching tradition. And so the methodology has been perfected over centuries, over millennia. Because the fundamental problem we are addressing is the same. The problem is one of inadequacy of a human being, incompleteness, being limited, insecure. That is the problem we are addressing. Fundamentally, that's the problem. And human beings have always had this problem. Whenever, with whichever era or whichever century the person might have lived, this problem was there, and this was what was being addressed. So the problem remaining the same, the solution also has to be the same. So an insecure person 500 years back, the solution for that person cannot be different from an insecure person of today. Even though our external lifestyle may have changed, but still we are not any better in terms of our own insecurity. So the problem remaining the same, the solution has been perfected over centuries. So that is the ideal teacher, one who has completely assimilated it and who has also been with the teacher for a length of time and learned it. So when you learn it, you also get the ability to communicate in a certain pattern, certain way. The expression may be slightly different, but the pattern that you follow is time tested. So that is the best teacher. And then, if that is not possible, then the alternative is someone who has been exposed to this teaching, but that person is also still working on it. So, not completely assimilated, but still working on it. So, that person is sincere, but still that person has the structure. See, like we have professors at the university also. Some people, they have immense practical knowledge, and some people have some theoretical knowledge. Subject matter, at least they know. So you can trust that person. So he may not have complete practical knowledge, but if you don't have a person who has both the knowledge of the subject and practical, then you might as well settle for someone who just has the theoretical understanding. So that is the next alternative. So the first one is called a Shrotriya Brahmanishta. So Brahmanishta means one who is always reveling in one's own true self. And Shrotriya means one who has gone through the tradition. The alternative is a Shrotriya. And the lowest, most inferior guru is a Kevala Brahmanishta. Someone who has somehow got this wisdom, but has not gone through the traditional methodology. So good for him. So he has it. So you can go and pay your respects to that person and go to someone else to learn. So this is with regard, and once you have chosen, this is with regard to how one should choose a teacher. But once you have chosen, then you are not skeptical of what the teacher is saying, ever. In the sense, certain things may not be very clear in the beginning. But still you don't suspect the teacher. So you just tell yourself that maybe at this point I don't get completely what this person is saying, and then stick with it without being skeptical. Eventually, one will have to inevitably get it. So that is the kind of attitude, that Shraddha, all this is part of Shraddha. Shraddha, faith and trust in a teacher. And because the teacher is handling the scriptures. That's why I said you don't go to a person who claims to be self-enlightened. Shastrasya Guru Vakyasya Satya Buddhi Avadharana. And this person is completely committed to what is said in the scriptures. So scripture here means the Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita. and then follows it to the dot. Why you should follow it to the dot, that also we will see. Because you cannot go to the scriptures directly on your own. Sometimes there is this thought that why do I have to go through all this? Teacher, even staying with a teacher is a big challenge. That's why every class we also chant Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu. So may this knowledge protect both of us. May it nourish both of us. Then may it energize both of us. And then may it enlighten both of us. And then finally, it says, may we not fight with each other. That is one of the prayers that we chant every day. Because what happens is, a teacher is also a human being. So generally when you accept a person as a teacher, then you start expecting that person to be perfect. Because we are wanting to gain knowledge of the self which is perfect by itself. So you are scrutinizing and you are carefully observing whatever the teacher is doing. But the problem is, the teacher is a human being and no human being can be perfect. Teacher is better than what we are. But if you are expecting the teacher to be perfect, then very soon you will be disappointed. Because you may have an idea of perfection in your mind. And then the teacher doesn't live up to the expectations that you have, that I have created in my own mind. So I am disappointed. And I start finding fault with the teacher. So when I start finding fault, then I start fighting also. So that is why there is this known issue when people stay with the teacher for a length of time. Psychologically they call it something called transference. So whatever anger you have over someone in your life, then if you are very intimate to the teacher, you start transferring that to the teacher because he is the only person available. So then really there is a huge tug of war between the teacher and the student. The teacher will have to be able to absorb it and not react. Someone might have anger towards one's parents or one's friend or one's partner. So you go to the teacher and then you transfer all of what the person with whom you are angry with, what that person did, you transfer it on to the teacher. It happens if you are very intimate with the teacher. So that is why we have this prayer, Ma Vidvishavahe. So let us not fight with each other. So let us not disagree. Mainly the student chants, let me not have any transference over my teacher. So when when one goes to a teacher, then all of this needs to be kept in mind. And that is because the teacher is the only access to the scriptures. You can go to the Bhagavad Gita. There are people who say that I read every verse, one verse of the Bhagavad Gita every day. And that is, it gives me something. On his or her own. But actually, if one does that, then the person would be more confused than before. There would not be any, there might be something that one gets, but there would not be any holistic understanding. Because this has to be studied in a very systematic way. So the teacher is the only access that I have to the scriptures. And that is why I need to trust the words of the teacher without suspecting or without being skeptical about it. That's why it is mentioned as an important requirement for every student. Shraddha. That's the definition. Shastrasya Guruvakyasya Satyabuddhi Avadharana. And then the next is the faith and trust in the teaching itself, in the scriptures. First is teacher and then the scriptures. So there also, primarily, that is what it all amounts to. Primarily, it is total faith in the Shastra. Because there are people who do comparative religion. So people who go to different religions and then study. So study Christianity for some time, study Islam for some time, and then study Buddhism, and then study Judaism. So all of that. And then also study some Hinduism, some Hindu scriptures. But here, when we say scriptures, we mean only the Upanishads. We don't mean any other scripture of any other religion. Why? Not because we disrespect, but because we get what we want in this. And if we try to compare it with some other religion, then unnecessarily you will have to reconcile, justify what is said there with what is said here. All that is unnecessary. What I want is, I want to know the truth of myself. And this scripture is more than enough. These scriptures we have. In Hinduism, the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, they are more than sufficient. So we don't need anything more. So we don't actually waste our time in reconciling it with anything else. Not out of disrespect but because this is quite sufficient. So we have total faith in what the Upanishads say, what the Bhagavad Gita says. And also this studying the Upanishad or Bhagavad Gita is available for every human being. So any other religion, the scripture of any other religion we want to study. So it might become necessary to convert to that religion. Here there is no such requirement. We just have to have that spirit of inquiry, the interest. And in fact, Shankaracharya says in one place, the only requirement for Atma Jnanam is that you should be a human being. There is no other requirement. So that's the only requirement. And we get exactly what we want, everything that we want. So in the Shastra, in the scriptures. So there is total faith, total trust in the Shastra. What time did we start?
About 10:50. You can maybe go for another 15 minutes and then do Q&A.
Okay.
If you
No.
finished.
So how long was it? I mean,
It's 11:30 now.
No, when did we start?
42.
Quarter to.
Huh?
A quarter to we started.
Quarter to 11.
Yeah.
Okay. So, the next question is, why should we trust the scriptures? Because they are the only means of knowledge that are available. And the Vedas, including the Upanishads, we do not attribute any human authorship to the Veda. And then as far as, the Vedas, they talk about 4 different kinds of topics. Because there is this bigger section of the Veda that is fully focusing on rituals and the different kinds of upasana, worship, meditation. And then the Upanishad portion is very small. So the Vedas we look at as an independent means of knowledge. So what are the topics that are talked about in the Veda? So one topic that is discussed in the Veda is where the means is not known, end is known. See, like for example, one couple have not been able to have a child for a very long time. They have been trying, but they have not been able to conceive. And you go to all kinds of doctors, so fertility clinics, but none of them has been able to help. And then they have said that because of some issue, some defect, you will not be either in the man or a woman, you will not be able to conceive. And then the Veda talks about a certain ritual. So here the end is known that I want a child. We want a child. And we don't know how to have a child, because medically it is been declared to be impossible. So the Veda says you do this particular ritual. So it's called Putra Kameshti. In fact, this was the ritual that in the Ramayana Dasharatha did. So Dasharatha did, and that's how he got 4 sons. So still those rituals are there. So you do this ritual and you will get this result. So the Vedas always talk about topics for which regular science, normal science does not have an answer. If science can find out on its own, then the Veda finds that there is no use talking about that. You can find it on your own, so you find it. So whatever rituals are there, so this is one category. Like you know what you want, but you don't know how to get it. So that is one category of ritual. The other topic that the Veda discusses is that the means is, first one is, means is not known, end is known. So, and the next one is, means is known, end is not known. So, like for example, you do some selfless activity. So you know, or you feel like doing something, helping someone, reaching out. Then the Vedas say that if you do this, then you will get punya. And that punya will give you this result. So you may get the satisfaction of that selfless activity, but at the same time you will also gather some punya. Things that you should do and you should avoid also. And the Veda also talks about papa. You should avoid certain things. So if you do it, then you will incur certain papa and you will have to face the consequences. So here the means is known, the end is not known. What will I get out of this? As I said, there is some intangible result. So there can be tangible result, but there are intangible results also. And then the third kind of topic is where both the means and end are not known. Like I was saying, going to different places after death. So the Veda will talk about Swarga, heaven, our own heaven. It is not the heaven of Christianity that we are talking about. So we have our own heaven, which is talked about in great detail, what one can enjoy in that heaven. So which cannot be verified here. So for the only qualification for that is you should die. But because the Vedas say it, there is no point in disputing what the Vedas say. Because when they have said so many meaningful things, why would they suddenly start bluffing? So promote some heaven and then tell you that you can go here, you perform this ritual. So we trust. So the Vedas, if you want it, then you can perform that. You can do all of that and you can go to that heaven. But the thing is, you will come back. Vedas say, for anything like this, tangible result, or a limited result, the Vedas always give a disclaimer saying that you can do it, but still they are all very short-lived. So they don't last too long. Even if you go to heaven, you can stay there for a long time, but still you will have to come back. Come back and start over. It's like vacation time. So you go to some place and then you spend all your money and then come back and start earning again. Then take another vacation. So like that you gain all the punya here and then go to Swarga. By the time your money is exhausted, then you realize your time to return has come. So like that, when punya is getting exhausted, the Vedas say that someone will give you a kick from behind and then push you down. Exactly the Vedas, the Bhagavad Gita also says, Kshine punye martya lokam vishanti. You will be thrown back into the mortal world, onto the earth, once your punya is exhausted. But still the Vedas talk about this. So the third kind of topic that is discussed below. See, all of this is outside the realm of normal human discovery. That's what we understand from knowing all of this. And there is this fourth topic, which is about oneself. Something that is already accomplished. That also, the Vedas say that you cannot know it on your own. That is why you have to trust me. So we started from there. Why I have to trust the Veda? Because that also cannot be independently discovered. So self-knowledge and enlightenment cannot happen on one's own. So you need an appropriate means of knowledge. You need an appropriate source. So that is the fourth topic. So which is what we are talking about. That is why we need to have total faith and trust in the Shastra. We will look more at it when we come back. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om